Good day and welcome to the Q2 2014 Juniper Networks and Certification Update webcast. Today's conference is being recorded. At this time, I would like to turn the conference over to Mr. Lauren Runst. Please go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Well, welcome everyone. Looks like we've got another good crowd with us today. And first off, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's webcast. I'm Lawrence Rust, the Marketing Manager for Juniper Networks Education Services. And we're excited that you joined us today. Before we get started, just a couple of quick notes. You'll see the question and answer box there on your screen. That's what we'll use to take questions for the webcast. So as you start thinking of things you want to ask, go ahead and put them in the Q&A box there, and we'll answer them either as we go or at the end in a Q&A session. Also, this is being recorded, and we'll go ahead and post a link to the recording on JNet in the Training, Certification, and Career Topics Forum as soon as it's available. Plus, we'll post answers to all the questions that are asked of us today. Even if we don't get to them during the live Q&A session, we'll make sure we can answer them through JNet. So take advantage of the opportunity and don't be shy about asking questions. And also, when the recording is live, be sure to share it with your colleagues that couldn't make it today. So we have a great session lined up today focusing on a number of different topics. To help present today's webcast, I'm joined as always by Liz Burns, the Director of Marketing and Certification Programs here at Juniper, and Kieran Milne, the Technical Lead for the Certification Program. And we're excited to welcome as our guest speaker today Swastik Bihani. He's a Director of Counter Security, and he'll be doing a really cool session on counter security here at Juniper. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Liz to walk us through what we'll be covering during today's webcast. So Liz, all yours.
Great. Lawrence, thank you. And welcome all to our quarterly JNCP webcast. And thank you all for hanging with us as we worked out some of the audio issues. That panel there where we've all been chatting with you about what's going on works really well to help make this a fairly interactive session. So as Lawrence said, if you have questions, put them in there. We will either address them during this session, or as always, we pull all of those questions out. We make sure that they're answered, and then we post them along with the recording in our JNet post. And you'll hear more about that later on, but hopefully everybody's online and everybody can hear at this point. We do have a very interesting agenda to hear for you today. I know you all are really interested in hearing about our counter security offerings and solutions from our guest speaker. But first, I'm going to start with a review of some highlights and some new offerings in the Juniper education and certification arena. Juniper Education is a global program. Many of you know this, but some of you might not be aware that we offer our training and certification programs globally in 3 main geos. And we offer in various ways that allow students to consume training both direct and through some partnership programs that we have. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what that authorized training that we offer. To ensure quality delivery of Juniper courses we ensure the quality delivery of Juniper courses through some standard, high-quality authorized courses that are taught by Juniper certified instructors. And we offer these courses through both Juniper training services, what we call direct training directly through Juniper, as well as through an extensive network of authorized partners. And this is really how we expand our footprint globally and make sure that we get training as close to you as we possibly can. I want to talk a little bit about what this network of authorized training looks like globally in each of our different geos. But in summary, there are 2 main partner types. One is Juniper Networks Authorized Education Partner, JNAEPs. The other is Juniper Networks Academic Alliance, what we might call JNAAs. When you're looking for training, you should look for these partners to make sure you're receiving authorized training, and you can tell them from their logos that they're branded as partners for Juniper. Let me talk a little bit about our different geos, highlight some of the main things that are going on in those geos in this quarter. So in the Americas, we've launched a new offering that I wanted to mention here. It's what we call a hybrid event, for lack of a better term. And this is really training that is delivered by an instructor It's delivered live in a customer-designated training room. In addition, it has simultaneous online classroom with remote access to pre-configured lab topologies for hands-on for all attendees. This training was designed to address the needs of geographically dispersed companies that don't really want to send their people traveling all over to receive training. So the remote access to the pre-configured lab topologies allow for a similar experience both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. We're currently offering hybrid events only in Americas, but you'll see them expanding very soon to other geos. One thing we're offering in all of the geographies right now is what we call prescriptive training. And prescriptive training is customized learning programs that are customized for training designed to address customer-specific training needs and different ways in which people learn. So prescriptive training starts with an analysis of the specific customer environment and requirements, and it takes a multi-tiered and a multi-discipline, multi-modality approach to designing a training program, which allows us to model the training to our customers' staff structure and to their learning requirements as well as their specific knowledge gaps. So if you find yourself with a large group of people that you need to train with different levels of knowledge, different learning styles, and located in multiple geographic locations, you might want to consider and talk to us about one or the other of these two learning options. You can learn more about the prescriptive training on our education website, and you can ask questions about either one of these at the Training at Reg alias up there in the upper right-hand side of your screen. Okay, let me talk a little bit now about EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa geo. So our EMEA region is seeing lots of activity related to our academic alliance programs. As a matter of fact, this summer at the Queen Mary University in London, we're going to be conducting a 4-day training and certification event. In these events, which we have also offered in the Americas and will soon be offering in Asia Pac, our students from the universities come to a 4-day condensed course that ends in them taking the JNO 102, which is our JNCI JUNIS exam, which if they pass, these students earn their first Juniper certification. They are JNCI JUNIS. So when they come out of the university, they are already knowledgeable about Juniper, and they have a vested interest in expanding their knowledge and skills in that area. Through programs like the JNAA, we are growing the Juniper workforce globally, the Juniper footprint, the Juniper market share. In addition, there are some hot courses currently being offered in EMEA that we wanted to highlight. One includes our Contrail course, which is part of our SDN solution. It's very popular, and it was filling up. If any of you were trying to get into that course, the folks in EMEA have now expanded the offerings, both direct and through our partners, so that people can take that course. We're also offering the new Junos mobile backhaul course. You can check on availability for Juniper as well as our JNAEP delivered courses anywhere in the globe on our Education Services website. And if you wanted to reach out to the EMEA training team, that alias is up there in the right-hand corner. Okay, on to Asia Pacific. Given the hours for Asia right now, I'm not sure we have many participants here live on the call. I'm hoping many, as usual, will listen into the recorded version. APAC is, as we know, many different geographies, many different languages, many different cultures, and we are adding several new JNAEPs in these countries to help expand our footprint and offer local solutions to support the growing customer and partner training business that we're seeing, training demands that we're seeing in Asia Pac. So So I wanted to briefly mention the countries in Thailand and Indonesia and Philippines and in Singapore. You'll begin to see additional JNAEP offerings as well as any direct training. Just a quick note on our JNAEP courses, again, globally. Customers can redeem their Juniper training credits. So if you are familiar with this method of payment, some of you probably have balances that you can use towards training. These can be applied both with Juniper Networks courses direct or with our training partners. Again, if you want to reach out to the folks in Asia-Pac for Asia-Pacific specific training needs, then the alias that you can reach out to is there in the upper right-hand corner. So some other updates. Again, the program that is near and dear to my heart. I'm very pleased to announce a program for the Juniper Network certified folks. We've been planning this program for a while, so I'm particularly happy to be able to talk about it here today. This is in a program that is really something I'm quite excited about because it involves thought leadership among this community of Juniper Network certified individuals. It allows you to engage with, it allows us to engage with you to engage with us, but more importantly, with Juniper Network certified to engage with other Juniper Network networking engineers. And we're leveraging social media channels for this. So in early June, you will see us launch what we're calling our JNCP blogging contest. So if you are JNCIS certified, you're welcome to participate, and we'd love to see you join us for this. What we're asking or what we're offering is you write a short blog post about a technical topic and or your journey to certification, something that you found of interest, something that you learned, and then we're going to publish that article for you on our My Certification Journey blog for others to learn from what you have to say or to enjoy the advice, tips, and techniques that you might have on your certification journey. And we're going to enter those people who are posted into drawings for some fun Juniper logo gear. So, for example, a T-shirt that we'll be sending you as a thank you for providing us your blog and your content. If for those of you where this might be afraid of writing or not really familiar with what this is, please know that blog articles are really, they're not big, long, published white papers. These are quick, short, focused articles on a specific topic. Blog posts can be fun, and they will get you noticed. So think about a case study, some experience or event where you learned a cool trick or technique, or if you have some advice for other network engineers or tips on how you got certified, mindful that you don't violate any NDA agreements, and then we will write it up and submit it to us, and we'll get it posted for you, and you'll become one of our blogging thought leaders on My Certification Journey. So look for a mailing coming out early June, and meanwhile, think about what you might want to write. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Kieran Milne, who's going to talk a bit about some of the new courses and exams that we have available. Kieran?
Thanks, Liz. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webcast. This quarter, or the past quarter rather, has been a relatively quiet quarter for the JNCP in terms of new exams or updates and that sort of thing. In proportion, it's been relatively light, and so I'll take you through a couple of things as new info for new folks, perhaps reminder info for other folks, and a bit of the lay of the land for what's going on in terms of courseware updates and that sort of thing. So we start, as always, in my section here with our slide that represents our exam portfolio, and we have three broad pillars, if you like. Starting on the left side, that's our core Junos tracks that we talk about most often. It's the network engineer job role, and you can see the three pillars working up from the JNCIE Junos as the common entry point, and then working up through service provider, enterprise, and security. So the three pillars, kind of the common popular tracks. Down the middle there is our support specialist track. Relatively new track for us, approaching a year old, I guess, at this point, and was brought about specifically as a request for folks who work in specific support contexts. So TAC engineers, support sales engineers, that sort of thing. And so covers the same kinds of pillars, service provider, enterprise, and security, but very specific to troubleshooting and problem solving. And here's a scenario, and how are you going to get yourself out of it? So that's really the theme of those exams, and again, specific to that target area. The right side in blue is our product and technology track. These are more the one-off exams that either cover things like legacy product lines, like our E-Series product lines, or the firewall devices that run Screen OS, those kinds of things, and also some of our current ones that are a little bit more product-specific, like the Junos Pulse product lines, that sort of thing, QFabric as well. And so, again, an overview of our exam portfolio at the current date. Some information in terms of ongoing updates. One is we continue work on working through an update to the JNCIE forms. Our service provider and our enterprise exams are still in development. We've been working on updating those exams for the last while now, several months, and that is approaching completion. So down towards the end of Q2 and into Q3 for sure, we'll be releasing some updates to those forms, and that will be kind of a good refresh for those exams that have been out and active for a couple of years now. We'll also be working on our security exam, getting started on it later this year, and that work will continue again for several months through into 2015. Now, one key note, because we've been getting some questions as we've been publicizing these updates, is folks are asking the questions, are the study resources going to change, or are the objectives going to change? Is the scope of the exam going to change? Is this a whole new update? And the big answer is no for any of those things. These represent incremental updates and improvements to the current exams and a revision of the forms as they are taken to date, but they don't change the study resources that go behind them, they don't change the scope of the exam, and they don't change the testing objectives when you're working towards those for your studies. And so all of that remains intact, and all of that to say, these updates are being done, but if you are currently studying for these exams, there's no change required for your path towards that exam. Keep studying as you always have been and as you plan to, and that will set you up just fine for these updated forms. So we're pleased to get these approaching completion and out the door here later at the end of the quarter. Aside from those updates I just mentioned, just a general note that we do work through a roadmap here with our exams in the JNCP, and they start, at the JNCIA level and all the way up to the JNCIE, as you just saw. And sometimes those updates or refreshes are of some tangible note and a scope change, and you see that in things like an increment to the exam number. So for example, earlier this year, we updated the JNCIA Junos exam from number 101 to 102. So you really notice it, and we publicize as such. Now, sometimes updates aren't as apparent, and they are more minor and perhaps for just freshness of the items or for security reasons to keep our security intact for our exams. And so that can happen as well and aren't publicized and aren't present and just, again, represent kind of an incremental progress and update to keep things rolling along nicely and keep the exams functioning normally. We've mentioned this one in the past for anyone who's been with us in past webinars. Free vouchers in our student kits. So, there are a lot of different student resources, study resources that you can use when preparing for our exams. And one of them is you can purchase the official student kits or the courseware for your own self-study off of our courseware bookstore. And so this slide is to remind you or advise you that some of those courses include a voucher card in them. And that voucher card has a code that will get you a free exam take at Pearson VUE testing centers for a written exam. And the courses are listed there. It's a bit small, type size or font size, I realize. And so you can follow the link that's also included to see the full page that's captured here and follow through the courses in more detail. But again, if you're studying on your way just towards a given exam, and you're looking for study resources, this is definitely worth checking out. And in several cases, or many cases, you'll find that the exam voucher that gives you that value for an exam take is about equal or thereabouts to the courseware you would have just bought. So a good way to get the official Juniper authorized courseware that we teach in our live classes, and use that as a self-study resource if appropriate for you, and then carry on from there to take the exam. Switching over to some courseware updates. Just a quick list here of some of the goings-on over on the course development side of the house here in Education Services. A couple of items of note here in Q2. First is just a reminder from last webinar in Q1 that some courses have gone live of some note for us anyway, and one big one is the JNCIE Security Bootcamp. So the 5-day-long boot camp that supports folks going towards that IE security exam. We're really happy to get that one out the door to go alongside our boot camps for service provider and enterprise routing and switching. So it's out in the field. You can sign up for it online in the training website, juniper.net/training, and locations for where things are running and what venues are hosting that event. Also, as you heard a few slides back with Liz, our Contrail course, Configuring and Monitoring Contrail, is out into the field and available for training for taking. And that Contrail is our SDN controller, for anyone not familiar with that. So another one we're pleased to get out to the public and start training on. Some minor updates going on this quarter. Updates to the Junos Unified Threat Management course, JUTM. Also some updates going on to the Space courses, the management tool Junos Space. Our entry-level Junos Space Essentials course is getting touched up, and the Junos Space for the Enterprise course is getting split into 2 chunks called Security Director and Network Director. Some updates coming in Q3, just kind of looking forward. The first one is a new course that reuses an existing course. So if you're familiar with the Junos Enterprise Switching course, that course is being re-leveraged or repurposed to include a variant of itself, which supports something called the Enhanced Layer 2 software. So something that's an initiative in Juniper these days is an initiative to bring together some of the differences between EX series switches and MX series routers. Now, MX series routers also do what we would call service provider switching. And so one of the things that is a bit of a drawback to those 2 things on the EX and the MX switching pieces is that the CLI config is done differently in some cases for the same tasks. And so there has been a movement and an initiative going on to bring those things more together so that as you might prefer to do, work off of a single set of commands to work in either of those environments. And so that initiative falls under the Enhanced Layer 2 software program. And this courseware is going to work with the existing Junos Enterprise Switching course, but for folks who are specifically in a situation where they are working in this newer version of the CLI software commands for these features, they're going to be able to use this course. And so, in a lot of cases that will tend to be a custom course available for a particular customer that, is in that situation. But in any case, this is going to move forward and going to become more standardized across our portfolio as time passes. And so watch for that to kind of spread and become wider as time goes on. Some other updates going on later this year include updating the Junos Pulse Secure Access course, so the Pulse SA course, and then an update and a refresh of our QFabric courses. And you can see them there, configuring and monitoring, and then troubleshooting QFabric systems. Just finish up my section here with some links to resources you might find helpful. First of all, that JNCP resources page provides a lot of good supplemental resources to all of our exams, in fact. So it might point to the courseware I was mentioning earlier. It might point to mock exam study guides for those folks taking the lab exams. A good variety of books and other links available to let you prepare for all the levels of our exams. Also, JNet is a good place to go and check out, and you can go to forums.juniper.net and get into our section of it, which is the Training, Certification, and Career Topics section. And we're hanging out there, and we can answer questions if you have some about a particular exam or a particular part of our program. It's also a good place to go to read up on what other folks are posting. Some interesting threads have been, what people are posting, what they're using for their home lab setups, for example. So kind of a lot of good discussion around all facets of the CERT program. Liz mentioned that next one there, My Certification Journey blog. So that's what the blogging contest is in support of. There are, of course, existing blog entries already there, and you can check out the link and follow it through to see what folks have been posting about their journeys, information about the program. And there's also a posting about the JNCIE Service Provider Lab update, the exam update, and its development process, so you can get a bit of a backstory on what's been going on there. And finally, there are always day one books. good, nice, compact resources, with the rationale being born out of the idea of, I'm a network engineer and I have a spare day here I find myself with. What am I going to do for the day? And so these day books, or day one books, dig down into a particular topic and teach you about a day's worth of information on that particular topic. So a good mix of topics available, and again, at the link you see there. And that takes it to the end of my section. I'm going to hand it over to Lawrence at this point to take you on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kieran. So I'll talk quick. I know there's a lot of folks that are interested in the counter security piece we got coming up here in just a couple minutes. But just quick update, if you haven't had a chance to download Junos Genius, it's our certification preparation app. The most recent rev that came out just a couple of months ago added support for the JNCIS Security and JNCIS Enterprise, and we actually have our developer for the app is busily working on the JNCIS SP. So take a look at that. We hear lots of feedback from folks both on JNet and various other places that it's a great preparation tool if you're preparing for those exams. So go ahead and you can find that one on both Google Play as well as the Apple App Store. The other thing I just want to mention, we mentioned it a couple times before, Juniper Learning Bytes, another fantastic free resource. We're well up over 100 different bytes that are now available. They're all video-based, and they all focus on a kind of a very focused tip or instruction or some feature that is part of either Junos or some of the other technologies that Juniper offers. All free of charge. You can find those a couple of different places. Juniper.net/learning bytes will get you there. That's on our learning portal. And, of course, on YouTube on the Juniper Networks channel. You can see both of those links there at the bottom. We added some really good ones since our last webcast. Some continued learning bytes. Actually, Kieran actually did a couple of them on OSPF version 2. We've got some ELS that was referenced earlier. You're starting to see a lot more things around virtual chassis. Just lots of just good topics. And of course, you can always request a topic. Specifically, if you go to the juniper.net/learning bytes page, another thing I'll mention is we've added some taxonomy behind those bytes that now allow you to search, if you're interested in bytes that are relevant to a particular topic or a particular platform. You now have that option there on our learning management system. So take a look at it. Great resource. And certainly you can request topics if you're interested. We'd love to hear from folks on any particular thing they want to hear a learning byte on. And more often than not, we can make them. So that's just a quick update from me. At this point, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to our guest speaker. So Swastik, I'll let you take it away. And yeah, it's going to be fun.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lawrence. Hi, everybody. My name is Swastik Bihani. I'm the Director of Product Management at Juniper Security in a specific set of technologies that we refer to as the counter security portfolio. Now, within the counter security portfolio, we've got new and innovative technologies, one of which was the Mykonos acquisition, now called Juniper Web App Secure. We also have Spotlight Secure, which is a cloud-based global attacker fingerprinting system. But the one that I'm going to talk about today, which is also part of the portfolio, is DDoS Secure. Clearly, DDoS is something which has been extremely top of mind for our customers, given the recent events in the industry. Just to take a look at what I'm talking about, if you go back and think about how DDoS has evolved, the first DDoS attack can be traced back to 1999. But definitely since then, we've come a long way, especially if I look in the last 3 years. Don't want to bore you with a lot of the history, but in the last 3 years, some of the key things that we've seen come up as big indicators of how massive the problem is the stuff in 2012 and 2013, the stuff around attacks on U.S. banks. They were becoming very mainstream, extremely new and sophisticated zero-day kind of attacks. In 2013, we started seeing that the attackers also evolving the techniques in that as mobile networks, both from a bandwidth as well as mobile handsets from a capacity perspective, started evolving. Mobile handsets were also being used to launch DDoS attacks, and that definitely has impact on some of the network providers, some of the operators, if you will, around the world. And in the evolution or the changes in the DDoS landscape continue even in 2014, where about a month back, we probably saw what was the largest attack in the world from a DDoS perspective, which is a 400 gigabits per second attack on some French targets. And the technology that is being used by the bad actors is something called reflective or amplification attacks. And we'll get into what these things mean. My goal for the presentation today is to educate you folks a little bit about what we have in the Juniper portfolio with regards to DDoS secure, with regards to DDoS security. It is a product called Juniper DDoS Secure. And the way you look at DDoS solutions, there are two ways to think about it. One is what we call a clean pipe solution. Now this says that, hey, the service provider or the link that is coming to you is kind of clean, right? It's something that the service provider has done, or you have some kind of a scrubbing station. But then what we're also seeing the need evolve in the industry, especially with the rise of these sophisticated application layer as well as low and slow attacks, is the need for on-premises security. Now, the reason why that happens is because the typical clean pipe solution looks at net flow data and bases its solutions on that and then kind of uses signatures. Where we, from a Juniper perspective, have our products playing in, is our Juniper DDoS Secure is the product, and it is an on-premises solution. So it is not a clean pipe solution where the market is kind of well evolved and you have a lot of solutions. So we are very complementary, if you will, to a clean pipe solution. Now, what I'm going to do is give you an understanding of how our DDoS Secure product works in literally just 2 slides. It's a very straightforward concept, if you will. One of the biggest things that we do is we do not rely on signatures. Fundamentally, we believe that signatures chase attacks. What that means is, if you think about it, right, if you have a solution which is protecting against a DDoS and is based on signatures, that means someone has to be attacked first for that signature to be made. It's like, much like a vaccine. Someone has to be patient zero for a vaccine to be created. And I can lay a bet if I were to see you face to face and ask, hey, who wants to be patient zero in the DDoS world? I'm sure nobody of you will raise your hands. And that is where our solution is extremely differentiated. So the 2 key concepts that we work off of, the first one is something called charm. Think of this as a reputation score. It's an actual number between 0 to 100. And the way it works is for every IP address that is coming into your data center, right? DDoS Secure has visibility into that, and it assigns a score between 0 to 100. 0 is given to an IP address that is exhibiting more machine-like behavior, and 100 is given to an IP address which is giving you more human-like appearance. And what does that mean? Let's use a very straightforward, simple example which may help you visualize this thing. So think about it as a web page that you host. Now, if there's an attacker who's trying to take your system down with a DDoS attack, the way his bot or the way his attack technology would work is he would continuously ask for that same page over and over and over again, versus a more human-like behavior. Say if I'm a legitimate, I am browsing your web page, what I would do is I'll download the page, I'll scroll through it, I'll get distracted by email, phone calls, coffee breaks, what have you. So my interaction with the web page is going to be very bursty, which translates into a human-like behavior and hence a score of 100. Now, the product has been out there in the market for about 14 years, arguably the first DDoS product out there. We acquired this technology through an acquisition in February of last year. So the reason I said that is a lot of innovation, a lot of R&D has gone into really figuring out what score should we give and how do we give that, what algorithms are we using to give that score between 0 to 100. Now initially what happens is if it's a new IP address, we give it a score of 50, and then depending on how it's trending over time, we either make it move up to 100 or low to 0. So that's the first concept. The second concept is that of resource health. Now think about resource health as a viewpoint that DDoS Secure, our product, has on every quote-unquote thing that is behind it or is being protected by DDoS Secure. And a thing literally means it can be a layer 3, layer 4 kind of a stuff, which is, hey, if I have certain resources on a per port basis, what is my backlog queue? What are the traditional things around DDoS attack like SYN, SYNAX, request pending, those kind of things. To layer 7, where we look at things around SIP, DNS, response times, trying to figure out how is the attack, how is the resource behaving. So for example, we look at even things like what is the typical volume going in, what is the typical volume going out of that particular resource. And we have visibility into at a very granular level. Now, one of the things, as you probably would have already kind of understood, is unlike other solutions which are out there which depend on signatures, we are not signature-based, and we hence end up being an inline. So we need bidirectional traffic visibility, so the incoming as well as the outgoing traffic, for us to be able to have a sense of what is the resource health. So again, to recap 2 concepts, which is charm score, which is the reputation score, 0 to 100, and the second is resource health. Now, with these 2 resources, I'm going to give you in literally one slide an explanation of how exactly it is that we defend against DDoS attacks. So, way to think about this is, say you have 4 resources, or n resources as the slide says, 1, 2, 3, and n, right? Now, say one of the resources under attack, resource number 2. The way DDoS Secure works is it says, okay, I'm suddenly seeing maybe the threshold, maybe the volume going in or volume going out, or response times for this resource 2 changing and not being good. What it will do is it will raise the threshold of that charm score required to access the resource. So let me be a little bit more specific. Say resource 1, 3, and n, and even resource 2 before this change was, say, at a score of 20. That means if the IP address coming in has a charm score of 20 or more, it is okay for it to access that resource. Now, as this resource 2 started getting under attack, the system automatically raised the threshold, saying, you know what, in order for you to access resource 2, now the charm threshold that your IP should have is, say, 60 in this case, just making it up, right? So what it does is automatically starts weeding out everything that is not good enough until the resource stabilizes. And say the resource does stabilize, the bad guys are kept out, and instead of focusing on resource 2, say they start attacking resource 3. What will happen is the system will automatically learn and over time bring down the resource 2 threshold and raise the resource 3 threshold. So the idea being, we are not signature-based, we are not static, we are looking at the traffic as it's coming in and out and are able to make a decision based on what it's doing. So in totality, the concept is extremely simple, but it's the investment that we've made over the last 14 years, the product team, to get this to market is where the differentiator is. So that's how this product works. Now, as we're looking at places where this is finding traction, there are a lot of use cases, but a couple of things that I will focus on today. One is if you are a mobile service provider where you're seeing use cases around compromised mobile handsets, right? They're launching attacks. They're even using their network components to participate in amplification attacks, and I'll get into what amplification attacks are. The second bucket is around enterprises where we're seeing these zero-day attacks, mainly targeted at financials through the Alcasam cyber fighter guys. But there are also aspects where enterprises are being the recipients, like I showcased in the very beginning of my presentation, of these amplification attacks. So let's get quickly into the mobile network DDoS use cases. So some of the things that we can do is identify the offending handsets, and that's something called RAN protection. That's the network, which is an expensive network that we can protect. The way we do this, again, in eye chart, not trying to expect you guys to see or focus on everything, but basically where we work is on this particular use case is Juniper DDoS Secure sits in the access network, and what we can do is based on, we think of all the handsets as resources, and then given the kind of encapsulation that is present on this access network from the user end device to the network, we are able to decapsulate that and actually figure out, depending on what kind of activities they're doing, to identify these bad actors. Now, what we end up doing as a value proposition for our customers is that this LTE RAN, which is the access network, that's a very expensive network. So we're able to protect that by making sure that unwanted traffic is not there. And then the other thing that we're doing also as part of that is, because these handheld devices are now attacking and, say they go to CNN.com, for example, they're exiting out of here on the internet side. And because of these attacks, what's happening is these IP addresses start getting blacklisted. So as a result, the solution that we have in place overcomes both these issues, if you will, for our customers. The other thing that we can also do is we protect our customers from participating, the DNS, for example, DNS servers, from participating in a DNS NTP amplification attack. And the way we do this is, just to give you a quick brief on how exactly is a DNS attack launched. What happens is the attackers spoof the IP address of who the DNS request needs to be responded to. So for example, if someone was to attack Juniper, they would have a number of bots with spoofed IP addresses saying, hey, I'm asking this DNS entry, and oh, by the way, the response should go to Juniper's servers, right? So the way we work is, when it comes to the DNS amplification, what we'll see is that as a regular client, as a good client, right, my DNS requests go from, I'm requesting an A record for CNN.com, MX record, A record, etc. There's a thing around caching. If I've made that request, I typically cache it for some amount of time before I go and make a request again. And that is exactly what the attackers are not doing. So in this case, there's an attacker X, attacker Y. Both have that same IP attack as a spoofed IP address. What they're doing is they're continuously asking for the same A record on CNN.com, for example. So now what happens is Juniper DDoS Secure understands that this is not good because of the number of requests that are going to that same record. So we have visibility into the rec A kind of request, so that becomes our resource. And what we do is, also given the kind of profile that these guys are showing, we decrease the charm or the reputation for these IP addresses and also increase the threshold for the DNS servers. So the idea is, since there's a mismatch, these guys don't meet the threshold, we'll automatically start weeding them out. So this is how we protect our large SP and those kind of customers from not having their servers being used in an amplification attack. So extremely, extremely differentiated in the way we look at this approach versus having signatures, because a signature-based product just doesn't work. Rec A is a honest request, right? It's only the number of times that it's being done, and the way it's being done is what makes it malicious versus non-malicious. I'll move over to the second part, which is the enterprise use cases. Now, again, like I said, the drivers are many, but mainly what we're seeing is on the financial side, we're seeing a lot of zero-day attacks, and on the rest of the enterprises, if you will, we're seeing other kinds of attacks, including some of the massive amplification ones. And the way this works is, let's take the amplification attack aspect, but from the other side, where I'm the recipient of a massive amplification attack. Right now, this is the other use case. So huge picture, not expecting you to read through it. The net of this is someone spoofed my IP address, and even though I didn't make those DNS requests, now I'm getting these millions and millions of responses back from DNS servers. So the way this works is, in your environment, if we have Juniper DDoS Secure, what it is able to gather is that, hey, there's a DNS response coming back to me, even though I don't have an equivalent or corresponding outbound DNS query. So it's like, wait a second, why am I getting a response for something that I never initiated? And it keeps state of that. Now what it does is then says, hey, if these responses are coming back at a rate greater than 10 packets per second, then I'm going to start aggressively rate limiting this thing. So that's how it kind of helps protect the recipient of this DNS amplification attacks from being bombarded by something which is illegitimate. Now, what we've also done is we clearly recognize that, like I said in the beginning, right, we do not have the solution for a fat pipe or clean pipe solution. And that is again something our customers have been asking, because once volumes reach a certain threshold, we definitely look out for the other clean pipe solution to be stepping in. And what we've done is, in that regard, we've created a partnership with VeriSign, who has a extremely robust cloud distributed denial of service, or DDoS service, that they've been running for a number of years now. And the way this works is, in situations where a customer wants to go hybrid, we have the cloud layer from VeriSign, which gives that aggregate capacity through its globally distributed scrubbing centers, which are on the world, 5 scrubbing centers and 17 points of presence to bring back the traffic to those scrubbing centers in an extremely fast way. And then VeriSign has the capability of doing these swings either using BGP or DNS. And while that is kind of a standby service, which is, yes, it's monitoring, it's not actively cleaning, the on-premises Juniper DDoS Secure is the one that is always on. It has that application as well as L3 layer intelligence. It keeps looking at these things on bidirectional basis, and unlike the VeriSign cloud, which is, yes, signature-based, which has value proposition, we are signature-free heuristic. So what you have is kind of the best of both worlds, signature and non-signature based stuff working for you in tandem. Now, where slapping a cloud and an on-premises layer is something that other competitors have also done. I think where we're extremely differentiated is this hybrid signaling. This is where we're innovating, where in phase 1, which is available today, what we're doing is, continuously the Juniper DDoS Secure is sending information about things like what is the current blacklist, whitelist, if there's an attack, what is the kind of attack information, source, destination, size, type, all those kind of things. The idea being that once a threshold is reached, say I reached X amount of attack volume coming in, that time you want to swing over the traffic using most likely BGP into the VeriSign cloud, and at that time when this attack is happening, there are 2 main things. One is we do this real time. Unlike using NetFlow data, we are not waiting 15 minutes before we say it's time to swing. It's near real time. And the second thing is when the attack is going on, it's critical. Every minute is critical. What we do is with this hybrid signaling is we've pre-populated the VeriSign cloud with information on the blacklist, whitelist, attack information size. So the idea is as soon as you do the BGP swing, there's no additional stuff that you need to do to actually get that clean pipe service coming back to you. So in more visual terms, the way it works is, when you have multi-vector threats coming at you, say it's only legitimate users right now. So what happens at this time is good traffic is coming to your premises, and DDoS Secure is always on mitigating. You get stealthy attacks. Yes, we mitigated on-prem. Now suddenly you start seeing these volumetric attacks. That is where the whole hybrid signaling really pays off. We don't initiate it at that point, but it's always on. It gets used at that particular point. And when that does happen and you swing the traffic over, both your volumetric attacks as well as good traffic goes to the VeriSign cloud, and the scrub traffic comes back on-prem, where Juniper DDoS Secure is still on and still defending. So you've got now at that particular point both the layers working together to you to provide the attack when it's most needed. Sorry, the solution that it's more needed. Now, that is one way we've integrated our solution. The other thing that we've also done is, much like the Juniper DDoS Secure sitting at the data center edge, with upstream signaling now in a different form using BGP Flowspec, we can have information being sent out to your MX routing infrastructure. So the idea is, say you've got a distributed edge where you've got multiple places where you've got your routers and it's globally distributed. If, say, an attack comes in from one of your places, now DDoS Secure can send out information using BGP Flowspec, maybe on your control plane, and making that available to all the routers around the world so that you have that latest, greatest information using BGP Flowspec. So all this stuff is not futures. This is something available right now. Extremely, extremely flexible in the way you can bring about, use existing networking technology in a way to solve extremely, extremely hard problems that are out there today. With the BGP Flowspec, I think the biggest thing that we are overcoming is, yes, we're making it open in the way we communicate, but we pre-populate the rules for your administrator so that this is complex. We are doing as much pre-work as we can. You have the option to say, yes, DDoS can directly send that information to the MX infrastructure, or wait for operator input before that before that Flowspec rule kind of gets propagated. So extreme flexibility in the way we've implemented it as well. So just to conclude, I think the way I look at Juniper DDoS Secure is we don't chase attacks. Our philosophy is we want to protect the resource. If the resource is struggling, we make sure that based on the reputation of the incoming IP addresses, we either allow or disallow access. We've been out there in the industry for 14 years, extremely low to zero false positives, if you will. The second thing is it's a relevant solution. Because we are not based on signatures, we can provide protection immediately for the latest set of attacks that are evolving as we speak on the internet. Like I recently heard about some SMTP-related amplification attacks. So things are evolving. This solution automatically adapts and evolves itself. And finally, as we've gone ahead and had this partnership with VeriSign, we are innovating on the hybrid solution side with a commitment to further develop these communication standards. The hybrid stuff was more of an open standard, so it truly becomes where a solution where you can have the best of breed on the cloud layer as well as on-premises layer, and you don't have to really kind of choose based on vendor lock-in. So extremely excited about the product that we have here. And with that, I conclude my presentation. I'll hand it back over to Liz and see if you guys have any questions that we could answer on the chat window.
Great, Swastik, thank you. That's very, very interesting. We do actually have one question for you, which I think we have time to address just right now live before we go on to the last section. Bob G. asks, does DDoS Secure run on branch SRX? Or does it run?
That's a great question. So no, today it does not run on branch SRX. It is a standalone piece. It is available either in a hardware, a 1U form factor, or it is also available in software-only form factors. So we support VMware images as well as KVM images. So you have flexibility. The hardware goes up to 10 gigs of throughput protection today. You can LACP load balance up to 40. That's what we've tested in our labs. The virtual images go up to a gig based on the recommended configuration that we have. So extremely flexible in terms of the deployment options.
Great. And so I think that answered that question. I don't believe that there's none other at this point, so I am going to move on. Thank you, Swastik. But for all of you, keep entering your questions, and if we're not able to answer them on this live here, we will be, as I mentioned earlier, posting them to the JNet forum with all questions and answers written. So at this point, I like to make sure that everybody knows how to get a hold of us. So we like to engage with our audience, and these are some of the primary ways to get a hold of us. I would say that although on top, emailing me directly is probably going to be your slowest way and least informative way to get a response, but if you have any questions about the program or like to provide some feedback, please feel free to email me directly. You can follow what's happening on Juniper Certify on Twitter at the @JuniperCertify handle. I would really encourage all of you to engage on the JNet discussion forum, training, certification, and career forum. There were some questions in the bar about how do I get help on doing self-study for my exam. There's lots of conversations here. How do I get access to rack time to practice? There's lots of conversations on training, certification, and career forum. How do I know what's coming out in JNCI ESEC? When do I know the betas? What do I know about new courses, new learning bites? This is a place to have an interactive discussion with us here on the certification team at Juniper or the education team at Juniper, but also with each other. We also engage to some extent on LinkedIn. There's multiple groups. And then there is the website, which is a font of information. And then, of course, the alias. If you can't find an answer to your question anywhere else, please feel free to email the certification@juniper.net alias. We promise a 2 business day turnaround, if not less, on your questions into that alias. So that is really your fastest way to get information that you can't find any other way. So that said, I think we're at the conclusion of our webcast. Lawrence, do you want to just wrap it up for us?
Yeah, just pretty good reference to JNet there, so I won't dwell on it other than to say this was recorded and it will be available. It takes us just a couple of days to kind of finalize the recording and get it out there along with all the answers from today's questions. So look for that, and you'll get a follow-up communication. We'll push that out and let all the folks that registered know when that's available. And really just a last thing, thank you very much for attending, and good luck with all of your future certification exams.
Thank you. Goodbye.
That will conclude today's conference call, ladies and gentlemen. You may now disconnect.